Everybody welcome. And since Greg is here and he's going to show the pictures as I speak, Greg, should I show the unfinished before I show the finished?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. There are three, but they're all the same.
Okay.
And I will tell you what this was.
So I should show the pictures?
Okay, not yet. I'll just read this.
Okay.
This was a wonderful commission to do. I would do a 10-minute drive to their beautiful waterfront home. And Barbara would have freshly baked muffins waiting, and I would sit and paint. We met them because they came for framing, and it began a wonderful friendship. And we would eat out together and so on, and just really enjoy it. And then Arthur and Eric both passed away pretty much at the same time, but we're still in constant touch. Barbara and I write to each other, call each other, and I love her. What I wrote over here, the friendship, though we are no longer a short distance away, continues and brings us close companionships. So many years later, it had begun when they came to our gallery for Eric's framing, led to many dinners, and is still a wonderful relationship. Would you show them how we began? I don't know how. Greg took over for Kenny, and he's a pro also. Now you'll see the finished one. This was such a joy to do. You can see from the water and the bridge in back and the blue sky and freshly baked muffins, how wonderful my life was. That was one of the happiest commissions I did. Barbara, it's not only the scenery, it's the muffins. And she always gave me enough to take home. Okay? Let me show you what else. It turned out that I would do all their family, everybody they wanted in there, they got. And I got to meet the people. Let me just read some of them, okay? In the center, there's Maxine Finkel Kane. Next to her is Barbara Arnold Finkel. In a hat, there's Sanford Finicel. But there are so many others, I'm not going to read them all. All I can tell you is, this is this wonderful chart they made. Could you open it so you can see how hard she worked? There are a lot of pages.
Yeah.
Okay?
There's a few pages of them. That's the basic idea.
No, Barbara had said to me when I told her about the program that a lot of the people who are in this painting or her friends are not on Facebook. And I said it doesn't matter because my son Kenny had arranged for my wonderful friend to do YouTubes.
Yes.
And so there's going to be a YouTube eventually. And her name is Dory Smith. And she is such a gift to me because not everybody is on Facebook. Okay, now let me go further. Thank you. I'm going to talk today about this amazing luck I have that, you see, when I did, may I see 1 minute? I want to give the date. When I did this painting, which by the way is 24 inches by 42 inches, and it was made in 1986. It's 14 and 22. It was a long time ago. And
Just got out of college.
right. And what I was thinking of, and Kenny has been pushing me to announce to people that they should speak of the history of their families. Because this many years later, I'm suddenly connecting to so many people. By the way, this wonderful shirt that I'm wearing was given to me by the person who's really responsible for my doing this. And her name is Tammy Smith, but she was Lieutenant General Tammy Smith. And before she retired, she was able to buy this as a gift for me. Mm-hmm. Can you read what it says?
Pentagon, Washington, D.C.
And I figured because of it, tonight when I speak of memories, I have this. I have to wear the correct shirt.
Yes.
Right, Dory Smith?
Mm-hmm.
Who said I shouldn't only wear pink and blue and red. But I get compliments on those colors, so I'll just stagger it and
Right. Exactly.
maybe wear pink or red next week when I do painting 64.
Tammy Smith said, "Love you."
Oh, I'm so glad. I love her so. Okay, let me be a bit sentimental, because so much happened during this week, as if people from all over the world who are in the paintings seem to have gotten in touch with me. Kent from Sweden will be coming here. That's one thing. This week, when I did Francis Tavern, this is a long story, and when Amy came, when she called me, and she said, it was after I did Francis Tavern, and what Amy said was, I'm the owner of Francis Tavern. And I said, but it's not in business anymore. And somehow or other, maybe because I only hear what I want to hear, I thought that she meant the business. And I said, then it's not gone. It's still here. Well, she said, no, I own the paintings. And I found out I can't give her the history of the people who bought the paintings, who commissioned the painting. I can do that, but I can't give her the history of Francis Tavern. And there's another painting, okay? And I have the pictures of both. I have everything. But what we did, we spoke so much. We talked about what we were doing and connecting and remembering people, because through this meeting last week, she found out how we got to each other. It's because Eric walked into the business, into her gallery, her parents' gallery, and said that he does picture framing. And so many years later, she's sitting in my living room and we're talking about her parents. And it got to me. And then today I got a phone call from Liz Moore. Who is Liz Moore? Well, it turns out she's my little Liz whom I met when she was in her baby carriage. And she is the daughter of Mary. I won't give last names when I do this. And Mary, when Eric and I got the gallery, the picture framing gallery, let me explain our generation for you. We lived at that time in Brownsville for 1 year, and then we moved upstate. And then we moved back into Long Island. And what happened was, Long Island was not what it is now. That was around 1948 or something like that. And it was barren. People came here to fish, but not to live. And somebody took a risk and set up little houses in Oceanside that were affordable because some other genius thought of monthly payments. I'm trying to explain history to you. All of you who now learn about bitcoins and credit cards and all these things, they didn't exist. And we, among all the people who bought a house there, because it was so affordable, with small payments every month, all of us struggled together and shared notes together. Mary, Liz's mother, baked her own bread. Not only, she was also a great cook, but to me, the smell of coming to her house and the smell of freshly baked bread, and then I could take home whatever was left of that loaf. She was also an incredible tailor. She didn't just sew her clothes, she tailored. She could do shoulders and buttons and everything. All of us existed on as little as we could spend. And when somebody was able to afford a garage, it was paradise. Bit by bit, we began. And in Eric's case, he was a frustrated builder. He loved making things. Whatever he could make, he made. He built our house upstate. How did he build it? He went from place to place and said, how do you put this on? How do you do that? And he did. But this house was different. They were going to throw away big panels of glass from windows. So he took them and he built a porch for us, a huge porch. How big was it? Big enough to put those big plates of glass in. And I just want to tell you about that period of time where nobody just bought a house. You added to it with your own hands. Okay, that's one of the things, because Kenny told me I should talk about, where did I put my paper? Right here. What Greg printed for me today, because my printer wasn't working. At least it wasn't working when I hit the button. But Greg walked in, and I don't know how he does buttons, but suddenly he says, okay, we can print.
Before let me read you some stuff that
I'd
you're
love
getting
it.
ready.
Yes.
Okay. So we said a lot of people were watching. They can hear you. Okay. Julie Williams. Hedy, you look great. As always. Sound is perfect. Okay. Julie says, hi, Greg. Hi, Julie.
Julie, I wish I had your hair.
Joe Tripp. You're looking beautiful tonight, Hedy. Julie. Wow, that's a beautiful painting. It reminds me of what a blessing it is to live close to the water. Tammy Smith. Love you. Julie Williams. Thanks for explaining your shirt. The Pentagon would be lucky to have you, Hedy. And you look very chic in black. With a smiley.
Dory, is that okay with you? Yes.
Janine, my mom. Hi, Hedy.
Hi.
Julie Williams. I love the history lesson about the shared hometown of Oceanside. John Terracuso.
Yes.
Hugs from California. And Barb Leviton. Hedy looks great.
Okay. This is what I would like to read to you. The magic, this awesome magic of a little machine that connects me to the world. Through Facebook, I was connected to family who I did not know existed in Panama. And Jose is doing the same thing I am in an entirely different way. Jose, from my mother's side of the family, Espinosa, Bill Gray, he works with refugees. I want you to read this. I want to read it to you. Today is International Women's Day, and our regional office for Central America, North America, and the Caribbean published this wonderful compilation of stories of migrant Haitian women, to which I had the honor to contribute with my own interview and photos. Nina is a 24-year-old woman of Haitian and Dominican descent. Her family and herself have spent many months in the migrant reception station in the province of Chiriquí, near the border with Costa Rica. She studied 3 years in medical school, fluently speaks 4 languages, and her dream is to become an OB-GYN to help other women. She hopes to immigrate to Canada, where her children will have a better education and health care. At the same time, I got a letter, an email from my friend from Vienna, Herbert, and he speaks about refugees because of what is happening now. They're getting so many refugees into Panama, and he said 6 million so far or more. And he said, Hedy, you were able to go to Panama. My children will not have that luck because Europe is dying now. He said, what Putin is doing is the same thing that was done in the Second World War, when you were able to flee to Panama. My children will no longer have that choice. We're fleeing from Ukraine and everywhere. And how long, he said, do you think we can sustain my little Austria? How long can it sustain all these people? Jose and I will continue this friendship because he's going to be able to come here for a visit. And when he is, maybe if Greg or Kenny can figure out how to put him on, I would love it. Because they can do magic and I can't. About the state of the world right now, Kenny showed me a poem which doesn't really fit in, but when I heard it, we were speaking of the tragedy that is happening right now. And the poem was written by Stephen Crane. And it's about anger. In the desert, I saw a creature, naked, bestial, who, squatting upon the ground, held his heart in his hands and ate of it. I said, "Is it good, friend?" "It is bitter, bitter," he answered. "But I like it because it is bitter and because it is my heart." I would like to ask all of you, don't allow that to happen. Give a cup of coffee to a beggar on the street. Do what my family, my grandchildren, Mary and Mike do. Actually, the one who gave me the idea is Theodore and Mike. Give things. How many socks do you have that you don't need? How many sweaters do you have that you don't wear? But we call Deidre Dietz. And when Dietz and I were speaking about the tragedy we felt, don't sit and eat the heart because it's bitter. Because then you may give bitterness to other people. Give socks. Okay? Seven minutes. Someday, somebody will come to you and say, "Tell me about you when you were little." Begin to write, begin to speak, because according to what, and this makes me want to cry, according to what Herbert said, Europe might disappear. Because now we have atomic bombs and people willing to shoot in the streets. Don't give up. Write about your family and you realize how far you've come. If you have a roof over your head, give to somebody who doesn't have one. I'm doing this plea because this has been an emotional week for me, with so many people who came to me from the past and said, "When you painted us, it still exists. But it's not my paintings which will exist. It's that I wrote about you." Every painting has a story in which the people are mentioned. By the way, Liz, I have to add one more thing. When we began, I gave classes in my basement, and I remember it was $2.50 for 2 hours. And I had more people than I could handle and loved doing it. And it didn't cost rent because it was my basement. And the students began to say to Eric, "Eric, you're so handy. Why don't you make frames?" Because we can't afford framing. Because in my time, in Oceanside, nobody could afford much. We all counted pennies. And so Eric began to look for frames. He would go to closeouts. He would go to anything which sold frames. And then he began to make frames also, being as cheap as they could be because nobody could afford it. And then he met a man named Guarini. And this Guarini company from Italy made the most beautiful, beautiful frames. And Eric came home and he said, Hedy, we're no longer going to be the cheapest frames in Long Island. We're going to be the best. And he started to go to the better guy. He bought those moldings. And remember, he was very careful how much he spent. And he made a few frames, which were beautiful. They were lacquer, they were beautiful. And he began to go to the very good galleries. And the favorite one was Loring Gallery in Cedarhurst, who came one day to the house to pick up frames, and he saw me painting a Lower East Side painting, and he loved it and sold commissions for me. I'm trying to explain history, how if you are willing to save and to grab opportunities that happened. And what happened, how did I meet? Okay, how did I meet the people who now own the painting of India House and Francis Tavern? Because we found out when she came to visit me last week that that's how we got started. They had a wonderful gallery, and Eric walked in and asked if he could do framing for them. And that's how she came to sit in my living room last week. And do history, because it is now 2022. And I did that painting for her because Eric walked into the gallery with the Guarini frames. He couldn't have done it with the frames that my students wanted. Is there anybody wanting to say anything? Because maybe out of this, somebody will say, we came to you because...
Nothing yet. Carol Hodgkins said, I love hearing about your history and memories.
Then let me tell you how Carol came into my life. Carol is one of the closest people in my life. As a matter of fact, she says, we're like sisters, but from different mothers. And today she came in with her grandchildren because she wanted to show them some of my work. And her grandson saw what I was doing with trying to arrange the room. And he's going to be coming and move the big boxes for me. I mean, it's just a connection.
Julie Williams, great history of your wonderful framing shop. FYA brought us together.
Yes.
That's right.
And what is FYA? It's called Follow Your Art.
Right.
And Joni came up with that title.
Good. Oh, it's 7:30.
It's 7:30. I love you all. Thank you for everything. Thank you for being mine.
Okay, bye everybody. See you next week.
Yes.